For my townscape analysis of Oxford, I chose to begin my route at Bear Lane, within central Oxford. Along this path, I would attempt to understand the townscape through Gordon Cullen's serial vision. This would also help me determine whether or not Oxford has a sense of place. After moving down Bear Lane, the route will follow Blue Boar to the High Street, down past the Covered Market, up to Broad Street and then following to Radcliffe Square, and then the High Street. Passing through St Mary's Passage and along Brasenose Lane, the route finally connects back at Turl Street. Moving along Bear Lane, the angled frontage at the end provides a deflection. This helps to provide an element of mystery and the impression of captured space or enclosure. Yet the movement of pedestrians at the end of the street implies more urban space to the left. Oxford is filled with many of these small alleyways. Juxtaposing with the busy High Street adjacent to Bear Lane, they create a feeling of surprise and enclosure from the rest of Oxford. This is also evident further down the route at Blue Boar Street, where there exists a combination of an old stone wall contrasting with the newer development behind them. The angle of the building also seems to confirm the existence of more urban space further down the street, hidden from view until the angled buildings have been passed. Here we can see the end of Blue Boar Street, a quiet back road contrasting with the busy High Street ahead. The contrast in movement speed and pedestrian footfall between the two areas is quite stark, dividing the two separate spaces into a here and there. Again, juxtaposing with the Blue Boar and Bear Street, Carfax reveals to us a large amount of open space, surprising in size. The angle of the Carfax Tower provides a deflection from this point of view, indicating more urban space while not revealing it to the viewer. The vertical factor of Carfax Tower also serves as a shock when combined with the open sky behind it, and it invites us to come closer and inspect it. Market Street leads us off the main High Street and onto a busy side road, which connects us to the Covered Market. The Covered Market provides an emotional response of surprise to the viewer. With its enclosed public spaces, it provides a captured space which increases the area's drama and concentration. This functional space is renowned and unique in Oxford, creating a sense of place. Turl Street provides a very narrow and picturesque space. Framed by the Tower House at the back, the viewer's eye is again drawn to the sky and invited to come closer. One of Oxford's dreaming spires, the tower provides character to the area whilst also creating a deflection and closing off the street, creating an artificial enclosure. This space, belonging to Oxford University, is a closed-off vista surrounded by old architecture. The architectural design, intricate and old, combined with open space creates a very strong contrast with Oxford's narrow alleys. The individual squares closed off at each side provide a feeling of here and there, specifically divided spaces to indicate private and public areas with a clear separation of them. Around this area exist many recognisable features of Oxford, such as the Bridge of Sighs, helping to generate a sense of identity and character to the place. The Bridge of Sighs itself creates a feeling of mystery and intrigue. Opposite St Mary's Passage, we found ourselves met with one of Oxford's narrow alleys, helping to foster the area's mystery and intrigue. The combination of old and new buildings and architectural styles creates a strong contrast and feelings of surprise, yet it does not feel out of place, rather fitting nicely into Oxford's mix of buildings. It becomes a predictable trait of the area. Back in Radcliffe Square, we find ourselves emerging from the confines of St Mary's Passage to the vast open space of the square. The frontage ahead, comprised of old architectural styles and materials such as Cotswold sandstone, creates a deflection, defining public space from private. The array of spars protruding from the building indicates a complex of urban space behind these walls, bolstering the feeling of intrigue that one has come to expect from these areas. Travelling down Brasenose Lane, we leave the open space of Radcliffe Square to move down the confines of this lane with a high footfall of pedestrians. As you can see, the angled buildings composing the walls of this lane, all in old architectural style, tend to obstruct the end of the curving street from view. The angle of the walls and direction of the path implies that urban space is ahead, and the tall building at the end of the street creates a deflection while also hinting at more open space to the left, piquing interest and curiosity. Overall, my route through Oxford has been one of changing experiences, from the quiet alleyways, busy High Street, large open spaces to the variations in architecture, tall, detailed spars and enclosed covered markets. The city succeeds in creating an emotional response. Oxford has a strong sense of familiarity in place, constructed through its own uniquely predictable combination of grandeur and intrigue. One can recognise when they are entering Oxford through its distinctive characteristics.